moves to 7 and transfers to M1, then turn it off kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's what you do with the computer beforehand?
Exactly.
Okay.
So what ends up happening, and here's the other part of this circuit. So these are little resistance temperature detectors. I'll get into how they work later, but just know that they detect temperature. So if I had this full of that regolith simulant and the heater, and I put this in there, and this was all hooked up to this, it would tell me, hey, I see that I am this temperature in degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit. It would report it to this, and when this sees it, like let's say I wanted it to turn off at 50 degrees.
Yeah.
So this would be reading this value and say, oh, I see a value of over 50 degrees. This is gonna turn off and cut the power to the heater, and things are gonna cool down. Once it drops below 50 degrees, this is gonna see that and go, hey, we're below 50 degrees, we need more heat. Turn back up, send a signal from here to here, turn this back on, and the heater is turned on.
So this is how it works in your house?
Effectively, yeah. On a much bigger scale, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
And you connect this also to...
Exactly. Why don't I get it set up, actually?
Kelly, you want to send me those videos later?
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
and Luis is just starting on this project, so we'll all go through it together. So we have this all hooked up, which frankly, that's not what we need. We need to know temperatures. We have a heater pretty much ready, which I will connect in a minute, but that's one of the last things I like to do. I like to mess with heat as little as possible. It doesn't get that hot, but it will, given time. So what we end up doing is I happen to know, and I'll teach you guys all about these breadboards. It's a fancy way to make circuits.
Okay, yeah.
And we will go over all of this and I have links that I will send to all of the teachers that discuss exactly this and give tutorials for Arduino. Luis, actually, how did you like those tutorials?
They were very good. Whoever did them, did a great job. It's very easy to understand.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'll send you guys this via email within a couple of days. So this, I happen to know, gives power to all of this. So I'm gonna plug it in to, we see a 3 volts here, 3.3 volts. I happen to know, because you can buy all these things with different specifications and whatnot, and then things come loose, of course. So ground needs to be connected to ground. Power to power. Okay, sorry about that. So now we end up taking our power. These things need 3 volts. So I'm gonna put them into the 3 volts. Wire just goes right in there, dead simple. It looks complicated, but trust, again, once you get these concepts, and they do come quickly, it feels like a very steep learning curve, but this all comes quickly and I'm happy to teach, so.
So how did you know it went to the 3 hole?
Well, these little boards right here happen to say V in, voltage in.
Okay.
3 to 5 V DC, 3 to 5 volts direct current.
Oh, okay.
This thing provides direct current. Your phone runs on direct current. The wall gives alternating current, or AC. This kind of stuff almost always runs DC. It's just easier to work with. So what you end up doing, I just happen to know that because I bought these to these specifications. There's 5 volt versions. This takes 5 volts, and I happen to know that because you can look online at the details where you buy these things, and it's all listed out. It's all extremely well documented, all of it. This wire will give us our ground to complete our circuit. So I'm gonna plug, there's a bunch of ground ones on here. There's like 3 or 4 ground.
Okay.
So I connected it to one of those, or I will connect it, it did not stay in, to one of those. And now what each of these does, I'll have to flip it around, I just realized. These bundles of wires allow these to talk to this, to communicate with this. So, and also, I happen to know what of these pins. I should make something a little more clear. I had to put these together. I accidentally soldered these upside down. These needles are supposed to be sticking out the bottom. It came with just the board, and these were all separate. And I don't know what I was tired one day, I guess, and I did it upside down.
You have to solder them?
Yeah, well, not always, not always. This one, yes.
Okay.
Most of them, no.
Okay.
And they always say when you have to solder them, just most of them you do not. This one I happen to have had to.
Okay.
So this is what they look like on top. These little sensors just get screwed into here and you're good. Each of these pins does a different thing. So you've got like voltage in, 3 volts, ground, and then like clock and a bunch of other stuff that I don't know readily what it means. But there's tutorials for this exact thing online. And I know how electricity needs to be hooked up to it. So I will plug this back in. And again, I just happen to know what I built this. I set it up so I know where all the wires are supposed to go.
Okay. So you built that from scratch, from the wires to everything?
I had this board and these sensors, and I grabbed these little wires and put it all together. And there's tutorials online. So, So in the code, you need to specify what does what. So like there's CS, DI, DO, and CLK. And we see those names on here. So in the code, and you see numbers next to them. So like CS,
On the top, I think.
yes, CS equals 5 in the code.
Now you can see it.
Okay.